Yo, 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 what is it good?
What's up, man?
Man, feeling good. Had to
Feeling
bring had to bring on a special guest, Mr. PG from the PG show. Had to bring him on here today, the House Divided, because we had to talk about this big victory that these Oklahoma Sooners just pulled off. Go ahead and get us started, Corey.
well, man. Halfway home, 6 games in for most of the teams. We still got some teams playing tonight, but we're at the halfway point of the college football season. It's the House Divided. It's your boy Corey Hilliard, my man Brandon Hill, and our special guest Preston Gant. So, if you've been here before, you know what it is. If it's your first time, Mikasa Sukasa, B Hill, talk to him, and let's jump into it, bro.
Guys, it's real easy. We ask you the same thing every single show. Just tap the subscribe button for us. Tap that notification bell. Hit that thumbs up if you don't mind. Drop down there in those comments. And also, too, guys, everybody's out there in the Twitter spaces. They're out there in the other Instagram, TikTok, everything else. Like and share our video as well if you guys don't mind. So, Corey, without further ado, man, let's get started. Preston, I want to hear from you, my guy. What's your take on this Oklahoma football?
Yeah, well, don't mind me if y'all hear my dogs act up in the background because we are
All
out
good.
trying to get some exercise. But no, I don't have to hear no 49 nothing BS anymore. I'm tired of hearing about it. Texas fans need to shut up. It ain't the largest victory in the rivalry, anyways. Great. Glad y'all won last year. It's about damn time. But Oklahoma, they brought it back. And honestly, this game lived up to the hype. And I think it lived up to the expectations that everybody had for it. So, we expected it to be a defensive battle. I actually predicted the game would be 34-31. So Texas hosed me in that last point of being absolutely right there. So, I'm extremely happy with what we saw out of Oklahoma. Although they gave up, I think it was like 527 yards to Texas. I mean, that really doesn't tell the whole story of how well your defense played up until that fourth quarter when you really started to have issues with people just getting hurt, falling out. So you had Gentry Williams, Billy Bowman leave the game. You had McCade Matower on the offensive side of the ball leave the game. You had Marcus Major leave the game. So it's like you had Andre Anthony, and yet Oklahoma was still able to pull it out.
Right.
So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with this team going forward. I think I look at it and I go, you're 6-0. And there's nobody on this schedule that you should lose to. Now, at the beginning of the season, I would have told you that, hey, Oklahoma, they probably lose 2 games this season. One of those games I had picked for Texas. I didn't expect the team to be this good. We had heard it from the coaches, but I think a lot of us were really reserved to say, yes, this team is going to go out here and potentially make a playoff run.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm looking at it. They're sitting 6-0, and I'm like, now they just need to go take care of business. They need to look at it week by week and not look ahead. And if they can do that with the defense that they're playing now, this Oklahoma team might just make a playoff, and they might just make a national championship. Now, I don't think they're going to win it. I think that's just an unrealistic expectation. But for them to make it, I think that would do wonders for this team and wonders for recruiting.
Is it though, PG? Is it really unrealistic? Because a lot of people would have probably come into this season and said that beating Texas was unrealistic.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people thought picking Texas at the beginning of the season was not going to be it.
B Hill was one of them. B Hill, you picked them in our pregame preview. You picked Texas, my guy.
I did. But I also followed back and said that was preseason before I seen anybody play or seen anybody do anything. And if I'm not mistaken, on our Red River show, I said Oklahoma 31-24.
You did. You came around to your senses.
So
I'll say
I
this.
digress.
I'll say this: the overall game, when me and B Hill did the pregame show earlier this week, I said 2 things had to happen for OU. What did I say, B Hill? Early turnovers. Can you create turnovers in the first quarter? You damn sure came out and do that. You did that. You got the 2 interceptions in the first quarter. The second thing I said is you had to cash in on those turnovers and get an early lead, and you did that as well. So right then, that set the tone for the game. I think OU, not letting them get up. You limited the big plays early. Quinn Ewers looked shook in the first quarter. He did rebound in the second quarter. At one point, I think he was 19 for 19. But winning the turnover battle, I thought would be huge for OU, because if you look at the roster of both teams, I think it's fair to say that Texas had the more talented roster, but it's not the most talented team that always wins the games or always wins the championships. It's the team that plays together as a whole and plays as a unit. And I think the OU defense did just enough by getting those 3 turnovers, which to me is the story of the game. And not only that goal line stand late in the third quarter, to me, that was the drive of the game, to keep him out the end zone, because that took more time off the clock. You guys didn't cash in on it. You missed a field goal after you drove the field, but it took more time off the clock, and then Texas had to go back down again and score, right? As opposed to them scoring on that drive, getting the ball back, and then going up. You know what I mean? So it's just created more time, less time for Texas at the end to come back and win the game.
Man, that's exactly what I was pointing to. That literally, to me, is what won the football game for us. You don't get that, because honestly, when it was 27-27, I believe, and we sat there and we kicked that field goal, I was like, oh my gosh, here it is. And then Texas drove down there, they kicked the field goal, went up 30-27, and I was like, that field goal is going to come back to haunt us. But
so Corey, as a lineman, how hard is it to stop a goal line offense? It's very hard. You rarely see it. It's one of the most hardest things to do in football. And to me, once you do that, it's such an emotional victory, right? And you can tell it just kind of took the win out of Texas there for a second. And I really believe that they got the ball on the 1. They stopped them 4 times in a row. You get the ball on the 1, you drive it damn near 80, 90 yards. Right, get a penalty, and then you missed a field goal. I think had that field goal gone in, I don't think it would have been this close. Right. Had OU scored on that drive.
Absolutely. PG, what's your thoughts, my guy? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, that goal line stance, that I feel like was a game changer. And I think that really showed us what this defensive line was made out of. So I think even myself, I watched this defensive line stop so many teams in the rushing game all year long. I still had questions. I still had my doubts until that goal line stand. When I saw them take care of that and that goal line stand, I said, oh, so this defensive line is like for real.
Yeah.
That's
guys like Jacob Lacey, guys like DeJohn Terry, guys like Kendra Bothroyd, those guys that we got from the transfer portal and flipped this team around. It cashed in a game like today.
Yep.
But it's PG, you're big in the recruiting world and everything. What does this do for the recruiting world? What does this do for Oklahoma?
Well, I can tell you exactly what it's going to do for Oklahoma. Let me pull out my phone right here. Let me pull out the Twitter DMs, because I've actually talked to a bunch of the recruits during the game, was collecting halftime thoughts, post-game thoughts. And I got from a specific 4-star safety that was at the game. I'll pull it up here. Gives you exactly what he said. Now, obviously, we're not going to put his name out there. I'm not going to put exactly who he was out there. But he says, hey, you had to finish. If they did that, they were going to shock college football to W. I think this is a team that can go all the way, and it's a team that I would love to be a part of. I also know that there was a specific 5-star at this game that has great relationships with Oklahoma, or at least it did at the beginning of the recruiting cycle. This kid was not a 5-star at the beginning of the cycle. And haven't followed up with him yet, but the fact that he was at this game,
you gotta think he was impressed. You gotta
think he was impressed. Yes,
absolutely.
And when we lost this recruit, I'm not gonna say we lost him like Oklahoma just lost the battle. Oklahoma backed off this guy. And now all of a sudden it's like maybe things are being rekindled here. So you look at what it's going to do for recruiting. I think Texas waited a long time for that momentum from the Alabama game. And I think this kills it
Love it.
because Ryan Wingo was just out at Missouri. And he just saw exactly what Luther Burden did to LSU all day long. Mind you, Williams Nwaneri was there as well. I'm getting to the point where I don't think Williams Nwaneri is going to flip. But I'm getting to the point now where I don't think Texas is getting Ryan Wingo either. And Kobe Black, a guy that didn't include Oklahoma in his top schools list, he had to have watched that game and said, maybe I need to relook at Oklahoma. Not saying that's what he's doing, but it's got to be a thought going through his head.
Right.
I think there's got to be guys on the Texas 2024 cycle that are committed to IMG Academy that Stone and Jaden Jackson are friends with, that they're going to try to use this over them to say, hey, look at how good this defense is for Oklahoma. You can't use that as an excuse anymore. You can't use the excuse of Grinch. I did sit down with Danny Okoye. We recapped this game a little bit and broke down his recruitment. We specifically talked about this defense versus Alex Grinch. But would you be at Oklahoma if Alex Grinch was the defensive coordinator? Hell no.
No.
I think that's
No.
all you need to know. Venables
Right.
has changed the defense. He's changed the mentality. And he's changed the way that the recruits look at this program.
Love it. I love it. That's what we were expecting when we hired him. That's what we envisioned as Sooner fans. When Lincoln
You
Riley
even had a 5-star linebacker in Justin Williams. Sorry to cut you off. You had a
No, you're
5-star
good.
linebacker in Justin Williams from Conroe, Texas, teammates with Joseph Jonah Ajonye, which, by the way, I've talked to him many times. We text back and forth all the time. Joseph Jonah Ajonye, currently committed to Georgia. He's going to stick at Bulldog. I don't think he's going to end up flipping from just all the
Right.
conversations we've had. But Justin Williams was tweeting out about this game and tweeting out about Oklahoma and BV.
That's there might be some fire where that smoke is what you're saying.
I'm not going to say that there's any smoke, but I mean, Justin Williams is a guy that I think he's been to Oklahoma at least twice. I know he's been to Oklahoma once. I think he's been at least twice, though.
Steven, yes. He is in the Heisman talk. Yes, 100% he is.
Now, this is a conversation me and B Hill had leading up to the game. I thought it was a wash at the quarterback position. I thought Quinn Ewers might have been a little bit better. There's no question now. I think with Dylan Gabriel on the last drive, but throughout the game, showed that he was a better quarterback, the more experienced quarterback. Is he in the Heisman talk now? I mean, Preston,
Yes.
what do you think for his Heisman hopes now? Is he in the thick of it?
I mean, DG is going to be considered, right? As long as he continues to play the way he has, he's going to be considered. My problem is, how are you going to compete with Caleb Williams and Michael Penix Jr.? Because both of those guys are putting up insane stats. Not to mention, you have a Shedeur Sanders. I'm still convinced if Colorado goes out there and wins 6 or 7 games, we really could be talking about a quarterback that won 6 or 7 games as a Heisman winner. Because
I don't know about
you take,
that one.
I don't know. You
about
take
that
away
one.
Shedeur Sanders, I don't think this team is improved at all.
That's fair, but I'm not giving the Heisman to a guy that only wins 6 or 7 games and doesn't even win his conference. I just
The Heisman is the most valuable player award. That's how I look at it.
That's fair.
But regardless how you look at it, Caleb Williams has improved on every stat that he had last year. And Michael Penix Jr. in Washington, look at what they're doing out there. So I think he's going to be considered. I think it's going to be really hard for Dylan Gabriel to be able to go out there and put himself up into the final 3 or the top 2. I mean, Oklahoma's going to have to pass for 350 yards a game, probably get 3 or 4 touchdowns, and Oklahoma's going to have to go undefeated. And Caleb Williams is going to have to lose 1 or 2 games. Oregon's going to have to lose 1 game.
Really, though, at the end of the day, as an Oklahoma fan, I don't care. I want a natty. I want a college football playoff win. We've had Heisman winners. We've had all of that. And what did that get us? I want W's. I can care less about the individual awards at the end of the day. Now, granted, I think
And
it
you're-
would. I agree with what you're saying, PG. I really do. Caleb Williams is that dude. Michael Penix Jr. What they're doing, they're putting up phenomenal numbers, and that's going to be hard to overcome at the end of the day. But hey, I'm kind of one of those guys. Put us on the field with them. I bet we beat both those teams.
I mean, true. I think you definitely beat USC. Their defense is god awful. I mean, it
Right.
regressed. When I didn't know how it could regress, it regressed. I think my thing is, I do think this is a year where Oklahoma can go win a playoff game, depending on your matchup. As long as you're not matched up with Michigan in the first round, you could probably beat any of the other teams.
Give me Michigan. Preston, I agree. I disagree. Give me Michigan. Give it to me.
I don't
love
look. I don't know. I kind of lean with Preston on this one.
That's
And I brought
fine.
up the rushing stats for a reason. I mean, outside of
That's
Dylan's 14 carries for 113, which were huge. Tyway Walker, Marcus Major, still to me leaves a little bit to be desired. To me, I mean, they only average three yards a carry out of all of their running backs.
That's fine. That's
And
fine.
you look at the other side for Texas, Jonathan Brooks is a dude. They don't have a Jonathan Brooks on their offense in the backfield. OU does.
Tell him, Hank. Tell him, Hank. Let him know. Let him know, Hank.
I don't know, man. I think if you run up into an elite defensive line or a front seven in the playoff game,
that's what we just did today.
I know, but it's a rivalry game.
But they're not Michigan good. But they're not Michigan good. I mean, Michigan is if not the best team, they're like the second best team. And I don't think Georgia's that good. I think they're better than Georgia.
Hey, are we talking about the same Michigan team that got beat by TCU last year, or are we talking about that Michigan team?
No, this is a very different Michigan team. This is a different Michigan team.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, I'm just saying, match us up. Let's go. Let's get it. That's where I'm at. I'm on an ultimate high right now. I ain't gonna lie. We just beat Texas.
I get what you're saying.
Team. It's like
I get what you're saying. But if you have a season like this,
run game. And
if you have a season like this, you don't want to match up against a team you know you're not going to be able to beat. In the Lincoln Riley era, you want to do that because you just want your shot. You know you're probably not going to beat them, but you just want to take a shot. This year, you match up against Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, USC, Texas. I mean, Georgia. You could probably beat any of those teams. It's probably a coin flip.
If not playing defense, because we're playing defense.
But I think it would be better for Oklahoma to win one playoff game and get to the national championship. Even if you lose it, the fact that you got there in BV's second year,
right?
That would, it would boost Oklahoma recruiting in the way people view this program in a totally different stratosphere.
I agree.
If you play Michigan, it's just going to be, same old Oklahoma. They can't get out of the first round. I don't want that talk yet.
See, hey, me and you are just going to agree to disagree on that one. I think we pull up in there and beat a Michigan. I would love to play a Michigan compared to playing a Georgia, compared to playing an Alabama and an LSU team like we have in the past. I would love the opportunity to play Michigan. I just would. Because at the end of the day, are we really going to sit here and say you're taking J.J. McCarthy over Dylan Gabriel?
I mean, you're not taking J.J. McCarthy over Dylan Gabriel, but this Michigan team is going to pound the ball down your throat, and I don't think we're deep enough at the defensive line yet for that. I don't think we are deep enough.
I get it, and I appreciate that, but what I'm coming at is, what's the most important position on the football field?
I mean, it's the
offense or defense.
It's the quarterback position when you're not playing a team like Michigan, or it's the quarterback position when you're not playing a team like Michigan who can have 2 or 3 running backs that can just pound the ball down your throat and take 7 or 8 minute drives. I mean, you got to think about it. That's what's killed Oklahoma in the past with Kansas State.
Exactly.
I still don't think they're there. I just if it was a Big 12 team all day long, Michigan.
That's fair.
Yeah. Here's the problem with your argument. I mean, you look back at when Oklahoma played Georgia in the semifinal. Who had the better quarterback?
Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean, Baker won the Heisman. We just lost Preston.
PG.
He's coming back.
Here he is.
He's getting on. He's showing his face now. Yeah,
Here
but
we are.
Baker.
Hey, Preston, nice to see you, my guy.
Yeah, but Baker had won the Heisman that year. Nobody's taking Jake Fromm over Baker Mayfield. But what
That's
Georgia
fair.
was able to do, they had Nick Chubb, they had Sony Michel. They just were able to run the ball relentlessly against that defense. Now, it was an Alex Grinch defense. You're talking about a different deal here, but I think what Preston is trying to say is you run up against a team, it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is if they can have their way with you on the ground. And that's why I brought up the Russian stuff. You know what I mean? You guys are going to have to be better in the run game because this season is going to get harder. I know it's the second easiest schedule coming into the year, but you're going to get it's OU. You always get everybody's best shot, but you're going to get every team's best shot. You're going to start getting night games, night away games at some of these venues, and people are going to be out to beat you and make their marquee win of the year. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to be able to run the ball on the road, and that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly like what a Kansas is going to be able to do to you. So Kansas didn't have Jalen Daniels against Texas, but I circled that game as we're going to find out if this defense can truly stop a mobile quarterback. Because Kansas, whether it's Jason Bean or Jalen Daniels, they both can run on you. And, that's probably the last question mark that I have. So far, they've been able to play contain, but they haven't played anybody that can truly just – they're designed to run the ball on you.
Hey.
I'll say this too. I mean, look at Texas. If you look at Texas's receivers, I mean, 10 for 115, 8 for 108 for Worthy. I mean, they gave up a lot of yards passing to a guy who B Hill you weren't really high on in Quinn Ewers. I mean, they kind of started to have their way with that defense between the second and fourth quarters.
Yeah, and I would put a lot of that on. Hey, you lost Gentry and you lost
that's
Bowman.
True.
I mean, you can't lose 2 first-round guys because let's just call it for what it is. Both of those guys are going to be first rounders.
It must not be too serious, the Gentry Williams injury, though, because he was in the post-game interview after the game.
Oh, yeah, it's probably not too serious. They wouldn't put him out there if it was a broken leg or something.
That's kind of what I thought, too. So, seeing him, that was a good sign. Have you heard anything about Andrell Anthony? Because I know he went out of this game.
I did not, but that didn't look good.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
The only good thing I can say about that is it sucks that if you lose Andrell Anthony for any significant period of time, that sucks because he's an explosive guy.
Right.
But that wide receiver room is so deep that,
yeah,
you're going to miss him a little bit, but how much are you going to miss him? Because you can put a guy like Petaway out there or Thompson. I mean, you've got other guys that have speed. Bunkley Shelton, JJ Hester.
Looking at this box score right here, what jumps off to me just looking right here, Nick Anderson, 1 catch for 3 yards and a touchdown, and we all know what play that was.
Yeah.
So to be in there as a receiver, as a redshirt freshman, dealing with the injuries that he dealt with last year, to come through in that moment, to be able to catch that ball, to be able to win this game, that's wow. So, man, I don't know. I'm optimistic still as an OU fan because I don't want to get ahead of myself because I've gotten ahead of myself before and it's bit me in the you-know-what. But at the end of the day, my guy, with the way this schedule's lining up, we're going to meet Texas and Arlington again. I believe that for a Big 12 championship. I really do. I think that's what this is all coming down to. But looking at that schedule right here, do y'all see a loss there for Oklahoma?
At BYU.
That's exactly what I was just getting ready to say.
I'm not really worried about TCU on Black Friday, which I guess they finally put that as Fox. I was wondering if that was going to be a big noon kickoff or not.
Right.
But no, that at BYU game scares me because I think BYU's 4-1.
And that's
they didn't look good at the beginning of the season. I thought, oh yeah, they're going to be terrible. No, it's for somehow they're winning games.
Well, traditionally, I mean, year in and year out, you never really see the loss for OU coming. Outside of the Red River, I mean, there's most years.
I do. You want to know why? Because I pointed it out against Cincinnati and people ripped me for it. But I said, guys, we're going on the road. Cincinnati's first year in the Big 12. It's our first road game. It's 2 weeks before Texas. we're starting to get some national media hype. Like, that is the game that Oklahoma would go out there and lose every single year. So, no, like, I could point it out to you. I could point out those games based on where they're at in the schedule to say, that's probably that could be a loss for Oklahoma. And that's kind of where I get to BYU, right? I think they could win all those games. I think they can win them handily. And I think they could get to at BYU and get to, hey, we're going to have senior night next week. We're almost there. We're undefeated.
Yeah.
You're in Provo. It's snowing.
Night
Elevation
game.
change.
Probably
Night game. The only thing that helps you is they're not going to have their fans absolute out of their mind drunk. So, I mean, how wild can they really be?
Right. I mean, hey, I'm with you on that one, PG. That's about the only game. Whenever we did our preview show for the season, that was kind of one of those games that I circled for Oklahoma. I was like, this could be one of those, like, you better be ready. You better be on upset alert. And you better handle your business or BYU can beat you. But looking at the Texas schedule remaining, I mean, that's a win out to me, in my opinion. I think Texas and Oklahoma are the two best teams in the Big 12. I think you're going to circle a BYU game there as well, but that's at home. But then you'll circle a K-State.
I think they're fine against BYU. Actually, the games I'm worried about for them are Kansas State and Texas Tech, mainly because look at when that Texas Tech game is. 6:30 p.m. ABC. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there was a part of me that was like, I know it's not in Lubbock, but I want Texas to be undefeated when they play that game. I want there to be this mental game of, oh shoot, we're undefeated. It's the end of the season, and we got Texas Tech at night on ABC, which is I think the exact same scenario what that game was in 2008.
It was.
And then I just thought also, there was a better chance for Texas and Oklahoma to make the playoffs together if they beat us today, and then we ended up having to play them in the Big 12 championship, and we beat them there, right? Because then both teams have one loss.
I think vice versa. I think vice versa there, though, because Texas already has that win against Alabama. They lose this game today. They win out. Let's say that OU's undefeated. We got a Big 12 championship game, right? We got a one-loss Texas. Texas beats us in a close game. Let's call it like a 3-point victory. Are you sitting here telling me that there's not going to be some conversation about Oklahoma and Texas both being in it?
The only scenario is Texas is number 2, Michigan's number 1. An SEC team has 2 losses. You have Florida State with 2 losses, and then you have USC undefeated at number 3 or number 2. The only way this happens is if USC's in the playoffs at that point, because the committee's not going to miss an opportunity to put that game as their first game. Like, they're not going to miss that opportunity. But also, I think that scenario is very unlikely.
That's fair. I'm fine with that.
And if I'm Oklahoma this year, I want an undefeated season, a regular season. I want it. It's in your grasp, and this will probably be one of the only times you can do it in a long time. Because when you get the SEC, this ain't going to happen. Yeah. So get it while you can take it.
Right.
Where do we think OU goes from here in the rankings when they drop tomorrow? I know it doesn't mean anything because there's a lot of football left, but it's always interesting to me when big games like this happen, what the national feedback is. I mean, how far does OU jump, you think, after beating a number 3 team in the nation?
I think they go to at least number 10. I think it just depends. Do any of these undefeateds lose? They don't jump Penn State. They don't jump Florida State because those two, I think, are pretty good. I think Florida State will probably go to number 3. Penn State, I would say, go to number 4. And I would drop Ohio State down to 5. I'd move Washington up to 6, Oregon up to 7, and then USC up to 9, and maybe Oklahoma at 10. I just can't see moving. Maybe you could move Oklahoma above USC because they're playing a better defense, but I can't see them moving Oregon, Washington, or Penn State yet. I'm just not there.
I think with Washington, Oregon, and USC all being idle, all being off this week, with Alabama having lost to Texas, Notre Dame having a squeaker against Duke last week, I can see them potentially getting up to like a number 6 or number 7.
I mean, it could happen. It could happen. They're just, I think the committee will look at it and say, Washington and Oregon, I think they play this year. I
They
think
play next week, I think.
Yeah.
They do.
So I think they would rather them be the higher ranked matchup because they know one of them will fall off.
Right.
And then Oklahoma will get a bump once one of them move. Also, I think they want to probably see what's going to happen with Penn State and Ohio State because Penn State looks really good. They might have a chance to win the Big Ten. It just depends on if they can play Michigan well. I think they're going to beat Ohio State. So I think there's a lot of just, hey, these teams are going to play each other, and Oklahoma just needs to take care of business and let these other teams take care of their stuff.
Something to keep in mind, though, with that, remember when Texas beat Alabama, they were ranked number 11. And I think, if I'm not mistaken,
Alabama was number 3. Yeah.
And they jumped
like
no other. So if we're going to keep it consistent, we're going to keep it right. We just beat the team that beat Bama on the road, quote unquote, the team that hadn't played nobody, hadn't done anything, but we just went out there and handled it. I'm in the 5 to 8 range. I'm with Steven in the comments. I'm about the 5 to 8 range.
Being consistent is great. However, that Alabama win doesn't look as good as it did when they beat Alabama.
No, I agree. I
agree
with that.
I think it's hard to say, oh, well, we beat the team that beat Alabama. Well, it doesn't look as good. So
I'm looking at the top 12. Who has a better win than OU right now?
There ain't one.
Maybe Florida State over LSU. LSU's that lost its luster last week when LSU lost to Ole Miss.
And they just lost to Missouri today.
No, they won.
Florida State beat Clemson. I mean, Florida State's been tested. I mean, I think it's safe to say out of all the teams on this schedule right now, Florida State has played probably a more tested schedule than anybody else.
Yeah,
that's fair. No, that's fair. But
I mean, Notre Dame has played a tested schedule, though. I mean, but they're not
Ohio State.
We're not talking about that. Well, we're not talking about.
I would love to see Florida State again after that Cheez-It Bowl game last year. Just saying.
It's a possibility, right? If they're undefeated, we're undefeated. You could see them in the playoffs. It's a possibility.
Man, I'm just saying. So I would love that.
Y'all want to do a quick score reaction real quick and look at some scores from the day?
Ooh. That Georgia-Kentucky game.
That got out of hand quickly.
Let's not talk about it, guys.
That's a statement right there.
Georgia's sitting in prime position, man. They probably have one of the weakest schedules you can think of in this recent memory. That I think they're going to be fine going forward.
Well, I don't know. That Missouri game, I still think could be a problem. It was a problem last year, and they're better this year.
Yeah, I would agree.
Even though they lost today to LSU, I mean, that's a game that I thought they were going to win, and they wound up losing at the end there.
I hate to tell people this Missouri team's actually better than we all thought they were going to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody thought that they were just going to be trash. We were going to flip Winari, and it was just going to be no problem. But
and unfortunately, I don't think you are, because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they told me that Williams Winari is already doing commercials out in Missouri. So I don't know if that's true, but if that's true, I feel like that's kind of hard at this point to go back on it.
All power to him. All power to him. I'm happy with the class that we have right now in 2024. I'm excited about what 2025 and that running back that we got from 2026, as the shocker commitment. It's like, dude, it's looking good. It's looking good.
And we've actually got him coming on tomorrow as well to talk about his recruitment and why he committed so early. So
okay, I love that. I love it.
Ohio State holding serve here. They beat up on Maryland. I'm glad you brought up that Penn State because that's going to be a big game.
It is.
People don't realize how good Penn State is this year.
Yeah.
They're good. They are good.
Ooh, I didn't see this. Washington State taking the L to UCLA.
That was a surprise.
Dante Moore with UCLA is going to be a problem. I think people forget how good he was. He was probably, if you weren't looking at upside, he was the best quarterback in the class last year.
I would agree.
But because he was the most college ready. Now, if you look at upside, you're looking at a guy like Malachi, or who was the guy that ended up at USC?
Malachi Nelson.
Malachi Nelson or Jackson Arnold. Those are the two you're looking at with most upside.
Yep.
Bama holding on to beat A&M. It's not the same old Bama.
Now, hold on. Does Jimbo get fired? because we've, you know, I don't know if you guys have watched Round Table Sports, but we've been talking about this. And, you know, hey, if Jimbo lost this game, do the fans at A&M start to get a little more restless? Because, I mean, it's getting to a point now where it's getting a little old for A&M to be losing the amount of games they are losing. I mean, they're going to have to go play a high-powered Tennessee team next week. Then they got to play at Ole Miss here in 2 weeks or at the beginning of November. This is not going to be an easy go out for A&M at this point.
When does it come to the point in time where their players start hitting the transfer portal and come
I
to
think
OU?
it's this year. I think it's this year.
That kind of happened last year, didn't it?
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the defensive line. I think
if
they go, like, I'm looking at their schedule. If they lose to Tennessee, which is at Knoxville, which is why I'm saying it could be a loss, at Ole Miss and at LSU, if they lose those 3 games, I think you could see a transfer portal exit of those defensive linemen. Because you got to remember, their defensive line coach ain't there anymore. He ended up passing away.
Oh, that's true. I forgot.
So they don't have him there to hold down the fort.
That's true. R.I.P. But man, that's true. I forgot about that. That's a good point. Man.
All right. Anything else we want to hit on? Any final thoughts on Red River? Any final thoughts on any of these games?
I mean, we can talk about some news in college football because
bring it.
North Carolina, they won their game 40-17 today, but they have a guy that has been ineligible this season, and finally the NCAA allowed Tez Walker to be eligible to play football this year. So incredible for North Carolina. Drake May gets his #1 receiver back, but also in the week where the NCAA bans unofficial visit photos, the NCAA gets rid of the 25 commit rule.
Yeah.
So you can now take more than 25 commits in any of your classes now.
Oh, wow. How awesome of them. So great.
The video shoot is funny to me because I remember who's the coach at LSU, Kelly. Remember that video that went viral, him making an absolute fool of himself doing
Yep.
That was kind of cringy.
Oh, look at this. We can talk about this a little bit. Okie Light won last night. We did beat the Kansas State Wildcats. We were 11-point home underdog, which is rare to see a bit underdog that big at home. Came out with the victory. Defense played unbelievable. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Defense played great. Bowman looked good at quarterback. We finally started making plays on offense. It was just good to see. I don't think I've been that shocked for OSU win ever.
Yeah, I mean, they're still gonna get steamrolled.
I know, but it was cool to see us like have some fight. It was cool. I was like, we got a little heartbeat. We're not.
Huh? That was a little shocked too. I was like, where in the world did this come from? Like,
well, you had to think Kansas State was like, there's no way these guys are beating us. It's Friday night. They just roll up in there like, let's get this done. Let's beat these fools and get out of Stillwater. And I think they were just shocked that we are actually playing good football.
I mean, the problem is though, y'all got to play 2 4-1 teams. You guys got to play Kansas next.
Yeah, I know.
And then you got to go at West Virginia. West Virginia played pretty well too.
I know. I get it, man. Let me enjoy this moment, Preston. Let me enjoy this, dog.
Mr. Oklahoma State fans didn't let us enjoy it after we lost to them at home. So
Tell them about it.
About that. I was like, y'all can't ever, like, you guys couldn't see that we got screwed on 2 flag calls in the end zone those last 2 plays of the game. And y'all are sitting here in my face telling me, oh, we beat you. I'm like, no.
Come on, man. You know we don't know how to act when we beat y'all. It's like, just let us have something nice once in a while, bro. This was a big win for us. Maybe we might make a bowl game before Friday night. I was like, we ain't making no damn bowl game, bro. We ain't making no bowl game. But that put us at 3-2, I think.
And we gave you something nice, a 2-0 start, and y'all blew it to South Alabama.
Man, I know, dog. We're just not good. That's what makes the win so shocking. If you're Kansas State, you got to be sitting there like, what the hell just happened to us? Like,
you didn't just get beat by them, you got blown out. Like, you guys got smoked, Corey.
Yeah, it was 20.
It really could have been a shutout. I mean,
you got smoked.
Yeah.
Come on now. I know you keeping that straight face right now, my guy, but you know just as well as I do that was unacceptable, brother.
What, last year?
No.
What?
South
You talking about South Alabama? Yeah,
going
bro.
up in there and whooping y'all's ass.
That's why I didn't think it was unacceptable, bro. I mean, people are calling for Gundy's job, saying that we need to push him out. His time is ran its course. We were doing a 3-quarterback system, which is by far the dumbest shit I've ever seen that I can remember. It's just like, what the fuck? What are we doing? What are we doing here? And to come back and beat the defending Big 12 champions when you're favored to lose by 11 points.
Touche.
It was just a good night. It was
tip
good
of the cap. Tip of the cap for you, Corey. I'll give you one there.
You.
Tip of the cap.
Thank you. The tides have turned because when we started this show last year, we started last September. Your OU Sooners were struggling, right? And for half of the year last year, Oklahoma State was a top 10 team until we rolled into Manhattan, Kansas, and got smoked 48-0. And so I'm happy for you guys because now I know you've been wanting to do this for over a year, to come on here on our own show and just gloat and talk about your Sooners. Man. And this year's been bad for me. So I know how it felt for you last year, having to come on here and do these shows and know that your team sucked.
It was tough.
Now I suck, and the Sooners are good again. So
except for everybody in the Big 12 didn't know how to act last year with Oklahoma sucking. So it was like Oklahoma State fans. Nobody knew how to act last year with Oklahoma just being terrible. It's like OU fans were acting out. Big 12 fans were acting out. Texas fans were just out of line.
Man.
What does this do for Brent Venables? Because remember last year, I mean, they were talking about getting rid of Brent after 1 year.
We're delusional. We don't affiliate with those fans.
Yeah. I agree.
Now, the talks of getting rid of Mike Gundy, I will affiliate with those fans all day because I feel bad for Oklahoma State because Mike Gundy don't even know how to recruit out there in Stillwater. This is interesting, and this might piss you off, but I've talked to numerous recruits that were in just over the past 10 years, and even some a little bit farther back, that people that knew. You know how good Oklahoma State's recruiting classes could be if they would just recruit?
Yeah. A lot.
Like,
better.
They could probably consistently be a top 15, maybe even a top 10 team.
I agree.
The problem is Mike Gundy just thinks, oh, it's 5-star. I can't win it. Oh, Oklahoma's going after that kid. Can't win it.
He gives up. He doesn't even try.
Yep.
Right? We pour no money into recruiting. We don't even go after guys like you said, Preston, that are 4 or 5 stars. He's gotten away with this, and you go back to 2011 when we won the title outright. That team had like 3 or 4 first rounders on it. You know, the 2015, 2016, 2017 teams with Washington and Rudolph, where we played Oklahoma like every year, those 3 years in the last game, and they're all for the Big 12 title. There's been even last year or 2 years ago in 2021 when we were ranked 5th going into the Big 12 championship game and had a shot to make the playoff. All of those years, all of those recruiting classes were not good. They were shitty recruiting classes, but somehow, in some way, year after year, or sprinkled in the last 15 years, we've had top 10 teams at the end of the year. And so he thinks he can get away with this. Hey, brother, you cannot get away with it anymore. The landscape has changed too much. NIL, the transfer portal, there's way more parity. There's people getting money now. Players are being paid to play. Nobody's going to come to Stillwater and not be paid, right, to play and live in Stillwater, Oklahoma, unless there's a check that comes along with it, right? That old way of doing things is out the door, bro.
Well, see,
you have to adapt.
You have to pay guys though in Stillwater. I think you could pay your players just 50, 60,000 a year, and they'd be happy. We talking Danny Okoye, and this is in the interview. I asked him about the Oklahoma State. He goes, "Oklahoma State gave me an offer. Never heard from him again."
That don't make sense.
But you want to know, in my heart of hearts, and I said this to him. I said, I believed at the beginning of the year. I looked at you and I said, that kid's going to Oklahoma State. And I said the same thing with Kobe Black, that 5-star corner. You know, he has a brother at Oklahoma State. I said that kid's going to Oklahoma State. But Mike Gundy don't recruit him. You don't have to have money. You just got to have the kids that are willing to go there. That's why I think it's probably more beneficial for Oklahoma State to lose out this season, because if it's that bad, they have to look at firing Mike Gundy.
Got to get him out of there.
And
Got to go.
You want to get somebody in there faster to compete with Brenton Venables for the Instant State guys. You don't want Brenton Venables to completely cement his feet in every single one of these high schools in Oklahoma to cut Oklahoma State out, which is what's going to end up happening.
Well, because especially on top of that, we're going to the SEC, so that's only going to increase the recruiting level in Oklahoma for the University of
Vanderbilt's
Oklahoma.
already recruiting our state well.
It's
There
ridiculous,
it is,
man.
So, yeah,
There
I mean, Oklahoma State, I feel like you need to get – honestly, I'll tell you who they need to get. They need to get Mike Gundy out of there, and they need to go hire Jim Knowles back. I'd hire Jim Knowles as your head coach.
You think he'd come back for that?
Why would you not come back for a head coaching job?
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, you're the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, and that can lead to bigger and better things than just being the head coach at Oklahoma State. No defense. No
yeah,
offense.
but you're about to go to a 12-team playoff, so what if you win your conference?
That's fair.
And I'll tell you this. A defensive-minded head coach that pairs up with a you can have an okay offensive coordinator, and you'll have a shot every year.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
we had Knowles, and we were ranked 5th in the country in the Big 12 title game.
That's what I'd do, because
no 4 or 5 stars.
Yeah,
I mean,
he knows the program. He's familiar with the area. I'd go get him.
I agree. No disagreement. No disagreement. Anything else that we can think of that we want to talk on? We've been going about almost 50 minutes here, boys. Is there anything else y'all can think of that we missed?
I mean, Oklahoma State could go try to get Coach Prime.
Oh, man.
That man ain't leaving. That man ain't leaving Colorado.
They could offer him a lifetime contract.
I don't think he's going to do all that.
Man, we're too cheap for that, bro. That's another thing. We're cheap. We're just so cheap. Cheap school.
Man.
We're not going to do that.
Man. Well,
I'll just say this. Could you guys imagine Boone Pickens and Coach Prime together in the NIL era?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. It'd be a free-for-all, I'll tell you that.
Oh, shoot.
They'd be showing out.
Be coming. Well, shoot. I think we've pretty much covered everything today in college football up to this point. So, if there's nothing else, are we good? We all good here?
That J.J. McCarthy guy that you were talking bad about just had a touchdown run.
I wasn't talking bad. I wasn't talking bad about him. I just said
You were acting like he couldn't play. The dude.
But are you taking him over Dylan Gabriel?
I don't know. He's pretty accurate last year.
Come on.
He's
now.
not a bum, B. Hill.
I mean,
He's not a bum.
I'm not saying he's a bum. I'm just saying, hey, this is where I'm gonna leave it. PG, when the college football playoff come around, if we play Michigan and we beat them, we got to talk. I'd
rather be wrong.
Yeah.
I'd rather be wrong than about that than, but
I need you to relax and slow down.
This is like Texas fans wanting Georgia after they beat Alabama. I was like, you guys want no part of Georgia.
I'm just saying.
You guys are a minute and 17 away from losing this game, having won the turnover battle by 3-0.
But we didn't.
You didn't, right? But a lot of things had to go right for y'all to win the game.
And it did.
It did, but it wasn't a blowout. It wasn't like you came out there and just smacked them around.
It's a rivalry game. And it was the number 3 team in the nation. Off on everything else.
I'll just say this because I know a lot of people look at. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Well, it took, the last minute for you guys to win this game." And I'll just put it this way: I think a lot of it is because our offense is developed and designed to go so quick. They do really well in those situations. But when they are physically trying to slow the game down, I feel like they struggle
because they can't run the ball. That's what I'm saying. That's why I brought up the three yards of carry earlier.
But I mean, even if they could run the ball, I feel like it would just be hard for them because these guys, if they see, they just want to go. They just want to go, and they know they can flip a switch and go down the field. So I think it's hard for them to try to slow the game down sometimes. And so in turn, it makes it to where you can't convert your third downs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
in no way am I trying to poo-poo the win. I told you I text B Hill right after the game. I say great win. You guys were up 27-17 and just got the turnover. So I thought y'all were gonna roll at that point. I just think we gotta, hey man, enjoy this win. There's gonna be other hard games.
I agree.
Right? I look back at the SMU game, it was 14-11 in the fourth quarter. The Cincinnati game wasn't a blowout. That was a 10-6 game at halftime. Like you guys are going to be in another game or two here, and then you got to go through Texas possibly again if they went out in the Big 12 championship. So before we start talking about Michigan, and some of these other guys,
we definitely have some work to do.
We got to slow down
for the Notre Dame Louisville because they're at halftime. And they're talking about Oklahoma, and they said road ahead, the remaining schedule, according to ESPN Analytics. Here's the rest of their games: 91%, 92%, 93%, 95%, 92%. The only game that's not in the 90s is TCU at 89%.
Yeah,
60% chance to win out.
We
There's
just got to
be a
handle
tough
our
game
business.
in there, though, man. I'm telling you,
Hold on. They give Oklahoma a 60% chance to win out, yet all of those games are in the 90s. You tell me how that makes sense.
The sense is it's college. Every game is different, bro. Every game is different. Haven't played football for as long as I played it. I've been on teams that have won games that we had no business winning. And I've been on teams that we lost games on. How the hell did we point in case last night, Kansas State. Nobody in the world was picking Oklahoma State to win that damn game. Nobody. Kansas State didn't think they were going to Stillwater to lose by a touchdown. Nobody thought that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Things happen. There's a reason you play the game. If we were just going off of predictors and you know chances to win out and all of that, we would just hand the damn trophy to Texas or OU and just call it a season. That's the reason they play the games. I just think OU, for everything good that y'all have done, right? There's going to be another game or two in here where it's going to come down in the fourth quarter and it's going to be a one-score game, right? And can you pull it out?
Yep.
So, as a non-Oklahoma fan, I'm curious about this question. Oklahoma, which I just told you their chances to win out. Have you seen the rest of their schedule?
Yeah.
Let's say the rest of the year they win on average 45-17. So they take care of business against every team they play. And on average, so some games they might score higher, some games they might let up a little more points, but on average, the score is 45-17. Do you look at this team and go, they're a national championship contender?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, but I say yeah, but you got to look at the level of competition. Obviously, whoever is putting those percentages out is not really saying that, you know, the level of competition is all that great. Because before the season, we were saying they had the second easiest schedule in the Big 12, right? And so what does that really mean? Are you really playing good teams, or are you just supposed to beat them because you're OU and you have better recruits?
That's why I said average of 45-17, because at that point you took care of business, right? Like you went out there and you probably beat everybody, kind of like the Iowa State game. Like that's how you should have won that Iowa State game, or better.
Right.
Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if they do that, yeah, it's a weak schedule, but they won the games they were probably supposed to in the way that they were.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things. Like, I can't remember what year it was. I want to say it was like 2018 for Clemson, when Clemson played a weak ACC schedule. They went undefeated. What did they do? They won the national championship.
They won the Natty, yeah.
So sometimes all you can do is play who's on your schedule and be ready to play whenever you have that opponent. And if we can do that, we're right there. Now, to be fair, I'm with PG, like what you said at the beginning of the show. I picked Oklahoma to lose 2-3 games coming into this season. You know what I mean? So it's like, sitting here now, it's like I'm happy that I was wrong, because Texas was one of those games that I had that they were going to lose.
Texas is a top 5 team in the country, even though they lost this game today. They're still.
They
top
are. Are we ranked above Texas after this week, PG?
Yes. I mean,
you'd have
and in my opinion, it's too early in the season to put undefeateds behind a one-loss team.
I agree. 100%.
Now, I'll say this: if Oklahoma struggles through the rest of their schedule and Texas goes out there and just dominates, then yeah, Texas should be ranked above Oklahoma.
Even though they got beat. It's all gonna be settled in the Big 12 title game because
and
you
at
could
the end of the
almost
day,
book
this is
it.
all. The rankings don't matter until you get the final college football playoff ranking.
Right.
100%. 100%.
And I would rather Oklahoma be left out of every single one of those until the last one because it just will fuel the fire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, these are kind of one of those seasons for Oklahoma. Every year, whenever Oklahoma gets doubted, they're not up in the media spotlight. They're not getting talked about, which, granted, after this game, they're not going to be under the radar anymore. Oklahoma is going to be one of those teams that are talked about, but they usually tend to do a little bit better in those years when they're just flying under the radar as opposed to the years when they're in the media spotlight. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
I need to see the Oklahoma team go out there and dominate the rest of their schedule. I need to see them go out there and win. I mean, I could point it out to you. Oklahoma, they need to beat UCF. They probably need to beat by 35 plus points. I know UCF's kind of gotten offense, but they didn't play well against Kansas today. Kansas, you got to beat by 24. Oklahoma State, again, you got to beat that team by 35. West Virginia, you probably got to beat that team by 30. BYU, I'd say 24 points. TCU, you got to beat them by 24. I mean, if you do that, I don't think anybody looks at Oklahoma and says, hey, they're not playing well.
Right. No, agreed. Corey, last little question before we hop up off this thing, man. Steven had a question here.
As a fan
of the Hateful Eight, how does it feel that the Big 12 trophy is going to go with either OU or Texas for you in their last year? How does that feel?
Look, it usually goes to OU every year except for the last 2 years. I don't care, man. I'm happy y'all are leaving, to be honest.
And it's
I'm happy y'all are leaving.
You still got a chance. BYU still got a chance. Shoot, KU still got a chance right now. So
I hear you. A lot of football left. There's still football to be played. I agree.
Yeah, let's not be securing this trophy to OU in Texas yet.
I feel like that's what a lot of people want to do, though. I mean, me and B Hill said it. I mean, I honestly think these two teams are going to play again.
I mean, they should. I mean, they should. And the thing is, the reason why everybody's saying it is because they should make it. But I mean, the thing is, we need to see Texas put together a complete season before we can say, "Hey, they're going to do this," because they haven't done it yet.
You're right.
I agree.
We haven't seen both teams do it in 2 years. I mean, Stephen G is a good question. I guess it's a little dig at me, but I mean, it's from the moment they announced they were leaving, two things happened 2 years in a row. Neither one of them played in the Big 12 title game.
Except for Oklahoma had a coaching change in the middle of that.
They did.
That is true.
Which,
but they also started
be
off.
Honest, that wasn't on their radar. I mean,
they also started off that year in the top 10 and then went into the Kansas State game last year, ranked 6th in the country. So it's not like, they had the coaching change and we just thought they were going to be complete ass.
I don't know why. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I don't know why last year they were ranked so high to start the year, because I know a bunch of people were upset about the 6 and 7 year. You go look at the last 2 years in Lincoln Riley, that season was coming. That season was coming.
No, it was.
Because, I mean, you go look at 2021, look at all the games he almost lost. I mean, you had to screech out against West Virginia, Nebraska, Tulane, which that Tulane game should have not been in Norman, but it was. So
yeah,
it was. I mean, you look at it, it was coming for Oklahoma. So I don't know why they were so high on Oklahoma to begin with. In a year where you were making a coaching change, and all the media talked about it too. Oh, BV's defense is so hard; it's going to take so long for them to learn. Well, then why are you ranking them so high?
Yeah. Agreed. 100%. But hey, this second year under BV though, they look like they're getting it together on that defensive side. They look like they know what they're doing. Danny Stutzman, he's looking like a dang Butkus Award winner, finalist. Towards the end of the season, he keeps playing like he's playing. Hey, man, sky's the limit. Have you heard anything about Billy Bowman's status of his injury? Now, granted, hey, Billy Bowman's my damn next-door neighbor. Him and Jada Coleman live right next door to me, so I'll run into Billy and I'll get some insight on that and see what's going on.
Shoot him over to my podcast. Tell him I got to get him on. So
say again?
I said shoot him over to my podcast. Tell him I got to have him on.
I got you, boss. You already know what time it is. Well, shoot. Hey, guys, this has been real tonight. PG, I appreciate you hopping on here with a show with us, man. It's always great to talk some college football. But if there's nothing else here, guys, let's go ahead and let's close this thing out. Let's
Close it
sign
out.
on off here. So, hey, guys, as always, if you're still here with us, you're going to watch this thing on YouTube later. Please always like this thing. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell. And go ahead and help share our content as well on other platforms. But always drop down there in those comments, guys. We always want to hear from you guys. Are we crazy just thinking Oklahoma is on top? Is PG right about Michigan? Talk to us. Drop down there in the comments. So, all right then. Peace
PG,
out,
you want to
guys.
shout out your socials real quick before we end this?
Oh yeah, I mean, y'all can find me at the PG Show, YouTube.
Yeah.
Twitter. Listen, if y'all aren't already following me, what are you doing? You're missing out.
I like it.
Absolutely. Shoot,
I'll-
hey PG, we gonna have to do this again for sure.
Yes,
brother.
sir.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. Anytime.
Absolutely. All right then. Well, shoot. Peace out, guys.
Peace.